They were not supposed to be there. They were not combat troops. They were not an assault unit. They were drivers, mechanics, clerks, cooks. A maintenance company, lost somewhere behind a war that was already moving too fast. And on the morning of March 23rd, 2003, they took a road they were never supposed to stay on. The desert did not feel like a place you could survive in. It felt like something that resisted you, Flat, endless, yellow-brown. Sand swallowed tires, mud clung to everything, dust moved like weather. It got inside engines, inside radios, inside weapons, inside lungs. Jessica Lynch noticed something strange. She started paying attention to trees. Because a tree meant something was still real. Everything else felt like drift. The 507th Maintenance Company had left Kuwait with 64 soldiers and 33 vehicles. That number did not last. Truck by truck, mile by mile, the convoy began to fall apart. Heavy vehicles sank into soft ground. Others broke down. Engines overheated, parts failed. One day they moved 9 miles in 5 hours. 9 miles. They were not fighting yet, but the war was already taking pieces from them. Sleep disappeared, communication faded, formation dissolved. And slowly, almost quietly, they stopped being a convoy and became a line of stragglers, trying not to disappear. They were not built for this kind of fight. Not this terrain, not this pressure. Most of them had never seen combat. The word maintenance made them sound invisible. Not the kind of unit people imagined when they pictured an invasion. Not the tip of the spear, not the men and women in the first headline. They fixed what broke, moved what had to move, carried the things an army needed so the war could keep going. But in Iraq, even the rear could become the front. And on that morning, the war found them anyway. They had rifles, a few machine guns, no grenades, no anti-tank weapons. And worst of all, their weapons did not trust them either. Dust kept getting into everything. Rifles jammed, again and again. You could clean the weapon, and minutes later, it could fail you again. And somewhere beneath all that fear, one thought stayed with Jessica. Not death, being left behind. Jessica and Lori were not just two names in a convoy. They were roommates, friends, the kind of friends who made military life feel less cold. They came from different worlds, but the army had narrowed that distance to nothing. They shared food, stories, long talks after lights out. And in a place where everyone was trying to look tougher than they felt, they gave each other permission to be scared. That is why Lori's stopping mattered. It was not just a ride, it was a promise. Then her truck failed. The transfer case gave out. The vehicle stopped. And for a moment, everything she feared became real. Trucks kept moving, dust swallowed visibility, radios barely worked. Nobody knew who saw her, nobody knew who did not. And then, a Humvee turned. Lori Piestewa was driving. She pulled up, looked over, and told Jessica to get in. That small act mattered, because fear changes when you are not alone anymore. For days, they barely saw each other. No conversations, no real rest, no sense of control. Just movement, dust, noise. And that constant feeling that if you fell too far behind, you would simply vanish from the war. By then, exhaustion was making decisions for them. That is one of the cruelest parts of war. You still look awake, you still answer orders, you still keep driving. But inside, your mind starts moving slower. A missed sign, a bad map, a silent radio, a checkpoint that should have been there, but was not. None of it feels like disaster by itself. But together, it becomes a trap. The mistake did not feel like a mistake, not at first. That is what made it so dangerous. The route was supposed to be simple. Follow the main road, turn away from Nasiriyah, reconnect later. But the checkpoint was gone, abandoned, empty. And the map was not clear enough. So near dawn, they passed the turn that was supposed to save them. And they kept going. That is how catastrophe often arrives. Not with music, not with warning, not with a clear line between safe and unsafe. It arrives disguised as routine. Another road, another turn, another few minutes of driving. And then suddenly, the entire world has changed, but your vehicle is still moving forward. By the time they understood the mistake, the city already had them. At first, it felt like they had caught up. Lights ahead, movement, buildings. For a moment, relief. Then the sun came up, and they saw the city. The relief died. Nasiriyah was not asleep, it was waking up. Slowly, quietly, watching. Think about that moment. Not as a map, not as a military report, but as a human being inside a truck. You are tired, you are dirty, you have not slept enough to trust your own thoughts. The windshield is dusty, the radio is uncertain, the street ahead is narrowing. And every face in every window might be nothing, or might be the beginning of the ambush. At first, it felt like they had caught up. Lights ahead, movement, buildings. For a moment, relief. Then the sun came up, and they saw the city. The relief died. Nasiriyah was not asleep, it was waking up. Slowly, quietly, watching. The realization did not come all at once, it crept in. Something was wrong, then everything was wrong. The convoy tried to turn around, but even that failed. One truck ran out of fuel, right there, in the middle of the turn. They got out, started refueling, quickly, nervously. Then one shot, and the city opened fire. From everywhere. The convoy split, some escaped, some were saved later, the rest were trapped. Inside the Humvee, everything blurred. Laurie kept driving. Jessica could only feel the chaos around her. Then the road closed, an RPG was raised. She lowered her head and prayed. The rocket hit. Silence followed. That is how it happened. Not a planned battle, not a heroic charge. Just exhaustion, confusion, and one wrong road. When it was over, the numbers became almost too clean. 33 soldiers had entered the city in that broken convoy. 11 were dead. 7 were captured. 16 made it back to friendly forces. But numbers do something dangerous. They make tragedy easier to carry, because they remove the faces. 11 dead does not tell you about the last thing they saw. 7 captured does not tell you what it feels like to wake up in enemy hands. 16 survivors does not tell you what they carried home. Because survival is not the same thing as escape. Some people leave the battlefield, but the battlefield does not leave them. For the Marines fighting around Nasiriyah, the day was only beginning. The city would become one of the first places in Iraq where the invasion met serious resistance. Bridges had to be taken, roads had to be opened, the push toward Baghdad had to continue. But for the 507th, history had already narrowed to one terrible morning. One city, one wrong road, one convoy that could not turn back in time. And that is what Nasiriyah became. Not just a battle, but a reminder that in war, one wrong road can decide who comes home, who is captured, and who is remembered forever.